So we don't want to transmit data when somebody is already transmitting data, because remember, this link is going to be shared by multiple devices. So if we are going to send our data when there's already data in the network, there's going to be collisions, or basically data is going to get lost, and none of these data end up reaching the end host. So we don't want to send information when there's already information in the links. Secondly, how much data should I send? How much time do I have allocated to me? Can I send data forever, or should I just send it in smaller fragments? If they are smaller fragments, how small or how big? And how do I know if my data reached the end host? Am I going to get, so like TCP provides acknowledgements, are there any acknowledgements? How do I know if I faced a loss or not? These are all some of the facts which go into designing a protocol for medium access control. So there are different kinds of multiple access protocols, so meaning different ways of sharing. So the first is channel partitioning, where you divide the channel into smaller pieces and allocate each piece to a node for exclusive use. So you say, okay, I'm going to divide my channel into chunks. These chunks are based on time slots. So for each time slot, one user can use. And once that time slot is done, the next user needs to use. I don't care how much of information you are able to send in that time slot, but you can only send information in that time slot. And once that time slot is done, you need to give up the medium, and the next host has to send in the information. That is the way they do access in channel partitioning. But when we look at a random access, there are no channels, there are no divisions, but somehow you need to make sure that you are able to send data and avoid collisions. Collisions meaning you don't want to send data when someone else is sending their data. And the third type is taking turns. Basically, the nodes take turns based on some criteria, and the nodes with more to send can take longer turns to send data. Uh, before we, so we are going to mainly look at random access protocols mainly, but before we look into that, what are some of the, just based on these definitions, what do you think are some of the advantages and disadvantages of each of these classes? Like, what do you think? It doesn't have to be right again, like just your perspective of what could be the advantages and disadvantages of these types. Mainly deals with dividing that simple channel into smaller pieces and allocating each of these pieces to a user. So this way, let's say there are 5 hosts which are sharing this channel, and this channel is divided based on time. So for random access, a con could be maybe the network connection isn't stable. Right, Mandeep. So that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. So that could be a case with any of our protocols. So that is definitely a problem. So if our network connection isn't stable, we're not going to be able to access the link and send data enough. But this problem can arise in any of our protocols. So what these protocols mainly deal with is the way you're going to use that channel. So how do we come up with rules and regulations for hosts which share the same medium to share them in an effective way and share them in a way such that everybody is able to send their data? So we can either distribute control or we can have a centralized controller. So ways of managing this medium for all the hosts in the network. Is it clear? So stability is definitely a con, but that would be a con for all these types of protocols. Like for example, let's look at how channel partitioning works. Let's say this is going to be my shared channel and I have 5 hosts which are sharing this channel. My MAC protocol, I'm going to design a MAC protocol so that all these 5 users are able to use this medium in an effective manner. So I'm going to use channel partitioning algorithm. So for this, I'm going to work on the principle that, okay, I am going to divide my channel into 5 chunks, and each of these chunks are for, let's say, 2 seconds. So for the first 2 seconds, host A sends information. Once this 2 seconds is done, irrespective of this host is able to send all the information or not, the control is given to user 2. User 2 then transmits data for the next 2 seconds. And once his 2 seconds are up, the third host sends their data, so on and so forth. Once all these 5 users have sent their data for 2 minutes each, cycle repeats, and then the control passes to user 1 again. He then sends any remaining data. So this is how channel partitioning might work if you do based on time slots. But one drawback with this would be that, let's say channel A had a lot of data to send, but channel B had very less data to send. So this 2 seconds was not sufficient for for the user 1 to send all the data. But for user 2, it just had very little data to send. So it just sends out all the data it had in 0.5 seconds. But the remaining 1.5 seconds is just idle because it has no more data to send. But because it's divided based on time slots, although this had very less data to send and this had more data to send, we are unable to do anything about it. So this can lead to underutilization of channels, and not always there is an equal distribution of data amongst the hosts. So that's why we look at random access, where we are not going to do any division. We are going to say, okay, if you have some data to send, go ahead and send. And just make sure that there are no collisions in the network. So there is no prior division or uniformity of how you use the channel. So you can increase your utilization using random access. But then the issue would be, how do I know when I should send my data? How do I know how much of data to send? So for that, it needs to do something called as listening to the channel, or it needs to know, is there anyone sending data or not? So there are different random access protocols, and this shows how they slowly evolved from a very simple protocol to something which is being used in Wi-Fi even today. So we have Aloha, CSMA, CSMA-CD, and CSMA-CA. So the Aloha protocol is the most basic and very simple structure, but it's a very powerful design which inspired all these future protocols. So in Aloha, if you have something to send, you send your data. If it goes through, it's great. There is no collisions, it's great. But if there was a collision, then you stop sending and retransmit after some point. So it's a very simple structure. There are, let's say, 10 people who are sharing the common medium. If any of them has any data to send, you simply transmit your data. And if it goes through, it's great. There were no collisions. But if there was collision, then you eventually realize that your data didn't go through. So you wait for an arbitrary amount of time and retry sending your data. So that's just the Aloha setup. It's very simple. And the idea is very simple, but there would be a lot of collisions because you can have a lot of overlaps, because how do you know who is sending and who is not? And that's when you have slotted Aloha into picture, where you say, okay, let us say that don't send your data at any time. you can only send data at some particular amounts of, at some certain periods of time. And if you have any data to send, you need to wait for a slot to begin, and only at the beginning of the slot you send data. And if while sending data there is a collision, you stop sending and wait till the next slot begins and send your data at that slot. This still has collisions, but at least now you don't send at random points, you only send at the specified time slots beginning. I think we are out of time. I am sorry. I think we exceeded time by 5. But you can look over these slides and also look at homework 10. All the answers to these homework 10 are provided in these slides, section slides.